Mercury. Introduction. The smallest planet in our solar system and nearest to the Sun, Mercury is only slightly larger than Earth's moon. From the surface of Mercury, the Sun would appear more than 3 times as large as it does when viewed from Earth, and the sunlight would be as much as 7 times brighter. Despite its proximity to the Sun, Mercury is not the hottest planet in our solar system. That title belongs to nearby Venus, thanks to its dense atmosphere. Go farther. Explore Mercury in depth. This series of oblique images highlight the wall and exterior of the beautiful volcanic vent located to the northeast of Rachmaninoff Basin and west of Copeland Crater. Image credit, NASA, Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, Carnegie Institution of Washington. 10 things to know about Mercury. 10 need to know things about Mercury. 1. Smallest. Mercury is the smallest planet in our solar system, only slightly larger than Earth's moon. 2. Insider. It is the closest planet to the Sun at a distance of about 36 million miles, 58 million kilometers, or 0.39 astronomical units. 3. Long days, short years. 1 day on Mercury, the time it takes for Mercury to rotate or spin once with respect to the stars, takes 59 Earth days. 1 day-night cycle on Mercury takes 175.97 Earth days. Mercury makes a complete orbit around the Sun, a year in Mercury time, in just 88 Earth days. Mercury transit, November 2006. 4. Rough surface. Mercury is a rocky planet, also known as a terrestrial planet. Mercury has a solid, cratered surface, much like the Earth's moon. 5. Can't breathe it. Mercury's thin atmosphere, or exosphere, is composed mostly of oxygen O2, sodium Na, hydrogen H2, helium He, and potassium K. Atoms that are blasted off the surface by the solar wind and micrometeoroid impacts create Mercury's exosphere. 6. Moonless. Mercury has no moons. 7. Ringless. There are no rings around Mercury. 8. Tough place to live. No evidence for life has been found on Mercury.
Daytime temperatures can reach 430 degrees Celsius, 800 degrees Fahrenheit and drop to minus 180 degrees Celsius, minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit at night.
It is unlikely life, as we know it, could survive on this planet. 9. Big Sun. Standing on Mercury's surface at its closest approach to the Sun, our star would appear more than 3 times larger than it does on Earth. 10. Robotic visitors. The 2 spacecraft of ESA JAXA's Bepi Colombo are en route to Mercury. NASA's Mariner 10 was the first mission to explore Mercury. NASA's Messenger was the first to orbit the innermost planet. Hollows on Mercury. Did you know? Did you know? Because of Mercury's elliptical, egg-shaped, orbit and sluggish rotation, the morning sun appears to rise briefly, set and rise again from some parts of the planet's surface. The same thing happens in reverse at sunset. Pop culture. Pop culture. The smallest planet in our solar system has a big presence in our collective imagination. Scores of science fiction writers have been inspired by Mercury, including Isaac Asimov, C.S. Lewis, Ray Bradbury, Arthur C. Clarke and H.P. Lovecraft. Television and film writers, too, have found the planet an ideal location for storytelling. In the animated television show Invader Zim, Mercury is turned into a prototype giant spaceship by the extinct Martians. And in the 2007 film Sunshine, the Icarus II spacecraft goes into orbit around Mercury to rendezvous with the Icarus I. In the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes, Calvin and his classmate Susie give a presentation about Mercury, in which Calvin's contribution is full of questionable information. The planet Mercury was named after a Roman god with winged feet, says Calvin. Mercury was the god of flowers and bouquets, which is why today he is a registered trademark of FTD florists. Why they named a planet after this guy, In depth, Mercury, NASA Solar System exploration. Hot or cold? Mercury's temperature. Mercury's surface temperatures are both extremely hot and cold. Because the planet is so close to the Sun, day temperatures can reach highs of 800 degrees Fahrenheit, 430 degrees Celsius. Without an atmosphere to retain that heat at night, temperatures can dip as low as minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 180 degrees Celsius. Introduction. The smallest planet in our solar system and nearest to the Sun, Mercury is only slightly larger than Earth's moon. From the surface of Mercury, the Sun would appear more than 3 times as large as it does when viewed from Earth, and the sunlight would be as much as 7 times brighter. Despite its proximity to the Sun, Mercury is not the hottest planet in our solar system. That title belongs to nearby Venus, thanks to its dense atmosphere. But Mercury is the fastest planet, zipping around the Sun every 88 Earth days. Mercury is appropriately named for the swiftest of the ancient Roman gods.
Size and distance. Size and distance.
With a radius of 1,516 miles (2,440 kilometers), Mercury is a little more than 1/3 the width of Earth. If Earth were the size of a nickel, Mercury would be about as big as a blueberry. From an average distance of 36 million miles (58 million kilometers), Mercury is 0.4 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit, abbreviated as O, is the distance from the Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 3.2 minutes to travel from the Sun to Mercury. A 3D model of Mercury, the innermost planet. Credit: NASA Visualization Technology Applications and Development, VTAD. Download options. Orbit and rotation. Orbit and rotation. Mercury's highly eccentric, egg-shaped orbit takes the planet as close as 29 million miles (47 million kilometers) and as far as 43 million miles (70 million kilometers) from the Sun. It speeds around the Sun every 88 days, traveling through space at nearly 29 miles (47 kilometers) per second, faster than any other planet. Mercury spins slowly on its axis and completes 1 rotation every 59 Earth days. But when Mercury is moving fastest in its elliptical orbit around the Sun, and it is closest to the Sun, each rotation is not accompanied by a sunrise and sunset like it is on most other planets. The morning sun appears to rise briefly, set and rise again from some parts of the planet's surface. The same thing happens in reverse at sunset for other parts of the surface. 1 Mercury solar day, 1 full day night cycle, equals 176 Earth days, just over 2 years on Mercury. Mercury's axis of rotation is tilted just 2 degrees with respect to the plane of its orbit around the Sun. That means it spins nearly perfectly upright and so does not experience seasons like many other planets do. Structure. Structure. Mercury is the second densest planet, after Earth. It has a large metallic core with a radius of about 1,289 miles (2,074 kilometers), about 85% of the planet's radius. There is evidence that it is partly molten, or liquid. Mercury's outer shell, comparable to Earth's outer shell, called the mantle and crust, is only about 400 kilometers (250 miles) thick. Formation. Formation. Mercury formed about 4.5 billion years ago when gravity pulled swirling gas and dust together to form this small planet nearest the Sun. Like its fellow terrestrial planets, Mercury has a central core, a rocky mantle and a solid crust. Kid-friendly Mercury. Mercury is the smallest planet in our solar system. It's a little bigger than Earth's moon. It is the closest planet to the Sun, but it's actually not the hottest.
Venus is hotter.
Along with Venus, Earth, and Mars, Mercury is one of the rocky planets. It has a solid surface that is covered with craters like our moon. It has a thin atmosphere, and it doesn't have any moons. Mercury likes to keep things simple. Mercury spins slowly compared to Earth, so 1 day lasts a long time. Mercury takes 59 Earth days to make 1 full rotation. But a year on Mercury goes fast. Because it's the closest planet to the Sun, it goes around the Sun in just 88 Earth days. Visit NASA's Space Place for more kid-friendly facts. NASA's Space Place, all about Mercury. Surface. Surface. Mercury's surface resembles that of Earth's moon, scarred by many impact craters resulting from collisions with meteoroids and comets. Craters and features on Mercury are named after famous deceased artists, musicians or authors, including children's author Dr. Seuss and dance pioneer Alvin Ailey. Very large impact basins, including Calories 960 miles or 1,550 kilometers in diameter and Rachmaninoff 190 miles, or 306 kilometers in diameter, were created by asteroid impacts on the planet's surface early in the Solar System's history. While there are large areas of smooth terrain, there are also cliffs, some hundreds of miles long and soaring up to a mile high. They rose as the planet's interior cooled and contracted over the billions of years since Mercury formed. Most of Mercury's surface would appear grayish-brown to the human eye. The bright streaks are called crater rays. They are formed when an asteroid or comet strikes the surface. The tremendous amount of energy that is released in such an impact digs a big hole in the ground, and also crushes a huge amount of rock under the point of impact. Some of this crushed material is thrown far from the crater and then falls to the surface, forming the rays. Fine particles of crushed rock are more reflective than large pieces, so the rays look brighter. The space environment, dust impacts and solar wind particles, causes the rays to darken with time. Temperatures on the surface of Mercury are extreme, both hot and cold. During the day, temperatures on Mercury's surface can reach 800 degrees Fahrenheit 430 degrees Celsius. Because the planet has no atmosphere to retain that heat, nighttime temperatures on the surface can drop to -290 degrees Fahrenheit -180 degrees Celsius. Mercury may have water ice at its north and south poles inside deep craters, but only in regions of permanent shadow. There it could be cold enough to preserve water ice despite the high temperatures on sunlit parts of the planet. Atmosphere. Instead of an atmosphere, Mercury possesses a thin exosphere made up of atoms blasted off the surface by the solar wind and striking meteoroids. Mercury's exosphere is composed mostly of oxygen, sodium, hydrogen, helium and potassium. Magnetosphere. Mercury's magnetic field is offset relative to the planet's equator. Though Mercury's magnetic field at the surface has just 1% the strength of Earth's, it interacts with the magnetic field of the solar wind to sometimes create intense magnetic tornadoes that funnel the fast, hot solar wind plasma down to the surface of the planet. When the ions strike the surface, they knock off neutrally charged atoms and send them on a loop high into the sky. Moons. Mercury has no moon. Potential for life. Mercury's environment is not conducive to life as we know it. The temperatures and solar radiation that characterize this planet are most likely too extreme for organisms to adapt to.